Have you ever looked at a map of the United States and wondered, why does half of America look almost completely empty? Believe it or not, more than half the country's land is nearly uninhabited, and in some states, you could drive for hours without seeing another person. Today, we're diving into the 10 most empty states in America, places where the population density is so low it feels like nature has reclaimed the land. But don't be fooled. These states aren't just empty by accident. People leave them, or never move there in the first place, for surprising reasons. Harsh weather, lack of jobs, small-town isolation, and even wildlife dangers all play a role. And here's the kicker. Some of these states are so massive that they look like they should be filled with bustling cities, but they're almost deserted. Stick around because you won't believe which state lands at number 3. It's one you probably thought was booming, but in reality, it's more empty than you can imagine. Let's uncover the truth behind America's vast, empty spaces. Now you might be thinking, wait a minute, Las Vegas is packed with people and tourists. That's true. But here's the twist. Once you leave Vegas and Reno, Nevada is practically empty. With 3.2 million residents, nearly 75% live in the Las Vegas metro area. The rest of the state is desert, vast, barren, and nearly uninhabited. Nevada's overall density is only 29 people per square mile, but outside Vegas, it feels closer to 0. Why? Geography again. Nevada is dominated by desert basins and mountain ranges, with extreme heat in summer and freezing cold in winter nights. Water is scarce, making large-scale settlement nearly impossible outside a few cities. Economically, outside of tourism and casinos, Nevada doesn't offer much. Mining is important, but it doesn't attract large populations. And while Vegas booms, rural Nevada struggles with declining towns and minimal services. The result is a state of extremes, one of the most crowded tourist cities in the world, surrounded by miles and miles of empty desert. It's a perfect example of why half of America feels empty. Most of the land is uninhabited, even if a few hotspots are booming. Heading northeast, Maine looks cozy on the map, but it's surprisingly empty. With only 1.3 million people, most live near the southern coast, while inland Maine is vast wilderness. Nearly 90% of the state is forested, making it the most heavily forested state in the U.S. Population density averages about 43 people per square mile. But in northern Maine, you could drive for hours without seeing another car. So why is it empty? The economy plays a big role. Outside Portland, job opportunities are limited. Many areas depend on seasonal industries like fishing, logging, and tourism. Young people often move away to bigger cities in Massachusetts or New York. The climate adds another challenge. Winters are long, snowy, and frigid, while rural geography makes parts of Maine feel isolated. That's why many people only visit during summer to enjoy the lakes, hiking, and coastal towns. Maine is stunningly beautiful, famous for lighthouses, lobster, and rugged coastlines, but much of it remains uninhabited. It's peaceful, quiet, and natural, but not the lifestyle most Americans are looking for. At number 8 is New Mexico, a state bursting with culture, history, and breathtaking landscapes, but still surprisingly empty. With just 2.1 million people across 121,000 square miles, New Mexico's density is only 17 people per square mile. Drive outside Albuquerque or Santa Fe, and you'll see miles of desert and mountains with barely a soul in sight. Why so empty? The economy struggles. Poverty rates are high, and job opportunities are limited compared to neighboring states like Texas or Colorado. Many young people leave, creating a cycle of low population growth. Then there's the climate. Summers are brutally hot, and water scarcity is a growing problem. Combine that with rural isolation, and large parts of New Mexico remain sparsely populated. Still, The state has unmatched charm. Its Native American and Hispanic cultural heritage, adobe towns, and desert landscapes make it unforgettable. But while it's a popular tourist destination, few people want to make it a permanent home. New Mexico is colorful and fascinating, but it's also one of the emptiest places in America. When people think of wide-open America, Nebraska often comes to mind. With about 1.9 million residents in a state bigger than New York, Nebraska feels like endless farmland. Its density? About 26 people per square mile, with most residents clustered in Omaha and Lincoln. Beyond those cities, Nebraska is dominated by plains, cornfields, and small towns that feel frozen in time. Why so empty? Geography and economics. Nebraska doesn't have the scenic draw of states like Montana. Instead, it's flat, agricultural land, beautiful in its own way, but not a magnet for newcomers. The weather is another challenge. Winters are freezing, summers are humid, and tornadoes are common. Life in rural Nebraska isn't easy compared to states with milder climates and more economic diversity. The result is rural depopulation. Young people often move away, leaving small towns emptier each year. For many, Nebraska is a place you drive through on a cross-country road trip, not a place you move to. It's the hard-working heartland of America, but undeniably empty. At number 6 is Idaho, a state that's been growing recently, but is still surprisingly empty overall. With about 1.9 million people, Idaho's density is just 23 people per square mile. Much of Idaho is rugged wilderness, mountains, rivers, and dense forests. For decades, it was overlooked while neighboring Washington and Oregon exploded in population. The climate also plays a role. Northern and eastern Idaho face harsh winters, while southern plains can be hot and dry. Outside Boise, Idaho is mostly small towns surrounded by vast open land. Jobs are limited too. Agriculture and resource industries dominate, and while Boise has grown, the rest of the state still feels isolated. Historically, many young people left Idaho seeking bigger opportunities. In recent years, newcomers from expensive states like California have moved in, attracted by cheaper housing and natural beauty. But even with that growth, Idaho remains one of the emptiest states in America, especially once you leave Boise's city limits. Nicknamed Big Sky Country, Montana offers breathtaking mountains, valleys, and plains, but hardly any people. With about 1.1 million residents, Montana has just 7 people per square mile. To put that in perspective, Montana is bigger than Germany, yet Germany has 83 million people. Why so empty? The rugged geography makes much of Montana difficult to settle. Harsh winters dominate, and many areas are far from hospitals, schools, or even grocery stores. Jobs are concentrated in agriculture, mining, and tourism, limiting opportunities outside those fields. Montana's cities, like Billings and Missoula, are charming but small. For someone used to city life, Montana can feel remote and isolating. Interestingly, the state has become more attractive in recent years. Wealthy newcomers and retirees have flocked to towns like Bozeman, seeking open space and mountain views. But even with this trend, the overall population density remains among the lowest in America. Montana is beautiful beyond words, but it's also one of the most empty and isolated states in the nation. At number 4 is South Dakota, home to Mount Rushmore, but not much else in terms of population. With just under 1 million people, South Dakota averages 12 people per square mile. Outside of the Black Hills region, the state is rolling prairie, farmland, and scattered small towns. Many residents joke that there are more cows than people, And they're not wrong. The climate is tough. Winters are bitterly cold, summers can be scorching, and tornadoes sweep across the plains. Life here is not for the faint of heart. Economically, South Dakota depends on agriculture, small industries, and tourism around Mount Rushmore and the Badlands. Sioux Falls and Rapid City are nice, but they're small compared to major cities. For many young people, the lack of opportunity pushes them to leave. Visitors often stop for a quick photo at Mount Rushmore and then keep driving. South Dakota is a symbol of America's heartland, but it's also one of its most forgotten empty states. Here's the big surprise: North Dakota. Despite its oil boom in recent years, it's still one of the emptiest states in America. With only 775,000 residents spread across a huge land area, North Dakota has just 11 people per square mile. Weather is the first hurdle. Winters are brutally cold, with sub-zero temperatures, blizzards, and icy winds sweeping across the plains. Even summers can bring tornadoes and violent storms. Economically, oil brought jobs, but the boom and bust cycle makes it unpredictable. Farming dominates, but younger generations don't want to stay. Many leave for cities with more opportunities and excitement. Interestingly, while North Dakota looks empty, it has a surprisingly high income per capita. But money doesn't offset the harsh climate and small-town isolation that drive people away. North Dakota might look prosperous on paper, but the reality is a state that remains largely deserted. Second on our list is Alaska, America's largest state by far, but also one of its emptiest. Despite being 1/5 the size of the continental U.S., Alaska has only about 730,000 people. New York City alone has 11 times more people than the entire state. Why? The climate is unforgiving. Winters are long, dark, and frigid, with some regions enduring months without sunlight. Much of Alaska is wilderness, mountains, glaciers, tundra, making it nearly impossible to develop. Economically, opportunities are limited to oil, fishing, and tourism. Goods are expensive, isolation is constant, and many communities can only be reached by boat or plane. With a density of just one person per square mile, Alaska feels emptier than some deserts. Wildlife is a daily reality: moose on roads, bears near backyards, and salmon-filled rivers carving through vast wilderness. People dream of visiting Alaska to see the northern lights, but few dream of living there permanently. And finally, the emptiest state in America, Wyoming. With fewer than 600,000 people spread across 97,000 square miles, Wyoming has fewer residents than some U.S. cities. Its density? Just 6 people per square mile. That means you could wander for hours in Wyoming without seeing another person. Why so empty? The state is dominated by mountains and high plains, with long, harsh winters. Jobs are limited to energy, ranching, and tourism. Young people often leave, chasing better opportunities elsewhere. Yet Wyoming is stunning. Home to Yellowstone and Grand Teton National Parks, it's filled with natural wonders. But most visitors come for vacations, not for permanent residency. The emptiness of Wyoming is both its challenge and its charm. It's wild, untamed, and breathtaking, but for most Americans, it's just too isolated to call home. So there you have it, the 10 empty states in America. From the frozen wilderness of Alaska to the endless deserts of Nevada, these places prove that the United States is a land of extremes. Here's the crazy part. While the US has over 330 million people, more than half of them live in just 9 states. That means the rest of the country, vast, beautiful, and wild, remains largely empty. But maybe that's not such a bad thing. For some, these states offer peace, space, and freedom you can't find in crowded cities. For others, the emptiness feels isolating and lonely. It all depends on what you're looking for. And now I want to hear from you. Would you ever live in one of these empty states? Or do you prefer the energy of a big city? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to know what you think. If you enjoyed this deep dive into America's empty spaces, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, and ring the notification bell for more fascinating countdowns and stories from around the world. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.